Hey y'all, this is Brigitte London and the Highwaywoman Radio Show, coming to you from Austin, Texas.
Yes, here she comes, the Highwaywoman. She comes with music for your soul, and then moves along. She moves along.
This is Brigitte London. If you're just joining us, you're listening to the Highwaywoman Radio Show. And right now I have with me on the phone the very talented Mr. J.B. Beverley from J.B. Beverley and the Wayward Drifters, his band. And we're going to talk about his songwriting, his music, and he's got all kinds of artistic projects and stuff going on. So, hey, J.B., how you doing?
I'm well, Bridget. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for being on the show. I'm excited to feature your music on here and to be able to get you on a regular scheduled playlist on the show. I love your stuff. I'm excited to see all the things that have happened to you and to see you get some recognition for your talent here. Why don't you give folks a little bit of background about how you came to be in music? Was it something that you always felt and knew inside of you think?
Yeah, I mean, I came from a pretty musical household. My mom was a singer, and my dad pretty much could play anything with strings on it. My granddad was a banjo picker out in the mountains in Virginia, and, got to jam with Earl Scruggs and people like that, and Jim and Jesse and stuff. So I got to hear all this music and get exposed to it pretty young. Like a lot of kids in my generation, by the time, puberty hit, I was, getting really into the other end of the spectrum. I discovered, punk rock and heavy metal and kind of fell in love with that. And then I always say that you get your nose broken and your heart broken a couple times, though, as you get older, some of that old country and old blues stuff kind of resonates a little bit deeper. And I came back to it,
You bet. Now, where are you located out of now?
I'm from Virginia. I live in North Carolina these days. I live out in East Carolina, tucked away in a little tiny town in a pretty poor rundown county, and plenty of space. Nobody bothers me. It's nice out there.
You spend a lot of time on the road, though, don't you? It seems like it, anyway.
I have. I spent from 2003 until the beginning of 2011 pretty much on the road all the time. And I took the last just about 2 years to work on some studio projects, start writing a book, or spending more time with my family. Just needed a break, and things happened. My lineup changed, and there's a lot of logistical stuff that shifted around. So I kind of came to embrace the downtime and start doing some different stuff. And right now I'm back on the road, but for the first time not fronting my own band. I'm actually playing bass with Husky Burnett right now for the next few weeks. So it's different, and I'm having fun, but I am finally getting back out there in some shape or form.
That's cool. I love always, finding out about all the different creative projects that you're doing. You're always doing something creative in one form or another, and I want to talk more about that in a little bit. But how about let's play the title track for everybody to your latest release, which is called Watch America Roll By. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Watch America Roll By was a kind of a concept road record. I started thinking about all these years on the road, and a lot of that album was written, in hotel rooms and backstage in green rooms and in the back of the van, and it's definitely a road record. But after logging a bunch of miles, I just sort of wanted to make sort of a concept record, about life on the road, and the perspective you get from it as an independent artist. It doesn't have a whole lot of, industry elements behind you, just sort of forging your own path and things, and I think it's pretty indicative of that. I think we did a good job.
All right, great. Well, let's play that for everybody. This is the title track from J.B. Beverley's Watch America Roll By.
Just a little too young to die. Said I'll pass the test. I ain't the baddest or the best, but I have whipped an ass or two. And I can play these songs for millionaires, but I'd rather raise them up with you. Another tank and tow, what's left of my soul, hammer down, it's time to fly. Break out the stash, put on some Johnny Cash, let's watch America roll by. Here we go.
And that was Watch America Roll By. On the Highwaywoman radio show this week, Mr. J.B. Beverley, who the more that I delve into his music and find out about him, the more I really like, as you will too. You're going to find out, folks, as you get into his catalog and download some of his music, or all of it, while you're at it, and also in some of the other creative endeavors that he's got going on. Did you mention, you say something about that you're writing a book? Is that right?
I am. Right. Well, it all started kind of by accident. We came off of our tour, and in 2009, when Watch America Roll By came out, we did a lot of touring, and we came off the road at the end of the year, and I was sharing some road stories with a buddy of mine, and I hadn't seen in a while, and sort of condensing, several years of touring into a bunch of late night stories over beer, and he kind of looked at me and said, man, you should just write this down, like write a book. And I kind of laughed it off. And then, I thought about it after the fact. I said, well, even if just my hardcore fan base would appreciate it, it's worth getting some of these stories down and just, sharing the experience. And so I decided to really put my game face on and start working on it.
That's really cool. I look forward to that. And I'm sure a lot of folks would, especially folks that aren't musicians that kind of want to get a behind-the-scenes feel of what it's like. It's not a glamorous life, as some may think, that's for sure.
No, it's like that Commander Cody song, looking at the windshield. It's kind of how it is. You're driving down the road, and it's like, there's the exit to take you to the Grand Canyon. Do we have time to see it? No, we got a 6:30 sound check. Maybe next time.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's really cool, man. I look forward to hearing more about that, and I want to play some more of your music here. Let's talk a little bit about this cut that you have with Hank 3, Lonesome, Loaded, and Cold. Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
Well, the song itself, I wrote it. The true story, I was like the last guy in a bar one night singing along with the jukebox, and the bartender was a friend of mine. He's like, man, you gotta pay your tab and get out of here, man. I have to go home. And at the time, I was running around riding freight trains and didn't really have anywhere to be, so I left the bar and I went and found a park bench in this park, and I had a little bit of a bottle of whiskey left, and I decided to finish my drink and find a bed for the night. And I wound up just sitting there writing that song at about 3 o'clock in the morning, half drunk with nowhere to go. And then years later, I played it for Hank 3, and he liked it, and I said, well, if I ever wind up tracking anywhere near you in Nashville and you're not on tour, you have to come sing on it with me. And he agreed to do that. So when we came down the track, he honored his word and drove on down for an afternoon and jumped on the song, and we had a lot of fun with it.
Very cool. Well, let's play that. This is Lonesome, Loaded, and Cold by J.B. Beverley, our guest here on the Highwaywoman radio show, and with a little bit of help from Hank 3.
So I guess it's time to roam. Now I'm lonesome, loaded, and cold. Guitar and a jug of wine, I'll stumble down that line through the darkness, searching for the light.
And if you're just joining us, this is Brigitte London. You're listening to the Highwaywoman radio show. That was our guest, J.B. Beverley, with Lonesome, Loaded, and Cold. Getting a little help from Hank 3 on there. And, you have such a roots. It's considered, I guess some people call it the underground country movement. There's all kinds of Ameripolitan now. There's all different kinds of names for things, but basically just music that is, has strong roots and kind of hits all that country and blues feeling all together. Who are some of the people you think that affected you the deepest when you were either growing up or making music, or maybe even still do, that really get to you, that make you feel like, God, I gotta get out a guitar and write a song now after you listen to them?
It varies. I mean, I'm influenced by songwriters that aren't afraid to pick apart their environment or themselves. I like autobiographical songwriters and people who are very spirited in how they approach songs. I mean, my earliest influences were people like Hank Williams and Jimmy Rogers, and on the blues end, like Skip James, and you know, I a lot of old time stuff. And as I grew up, though, I mean, I saw certain qualities in songwriters from a variety of music. You know, I mean, people ask me all the time who the greatest songwriters have ever been that I've come across, and it's a wide spectrum. You know, I can go from, you know, Hank Williams to Bob Dylan to Bob Marley to Mike Ness. I mean, there's a lot of people who's just those real heart and soul guys that, you know, shred the world around them and themselves and throw it under a microscope and do it fearlessly. Those are the people who've always inspired me and made me go, you know, damn, that's impressive, you know.
You've inspired other people in that way. I was just reading something that Owen Mays had put up somewhere, I think on something with Facebook, and was saying that it was actually a song that he heard on YouTube that made him go and get the guitar and do what he does now. And that's got to feel good to have things come full circle in that way. I mean, that's why we do what we do, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the greatest compliment you can ever get, is when somebody says, hey, you know, I listened to and watched what you do, and it inspired me to try my hand in it, and here's what I do. I mean, that's really being alive. You can do a lot with your existence, but I always find that, you know, it's where you can touch the lives around you, inspire people, and make them feel, you know, whatever it is. I mean, that's the beauty of being a musician, is you can sing a song, and one person can hear it and get a big old smile on their face and feel happy. The person standing next to them can be reminded of something that maybe was more painful, and they start to cry, but both reactions are, you know, equally acceptable. And so it's not like stand-up comedy where there's only one right reaction. You know?
Right. Right, yeah. Yeah, I like it, yeah. That's cool, you put it that way. Basically just getting people to feel something, to feel anything. That's art, right? You know.
Well, sure, it's that connection. I mean, you know, it's something that transcends, you know, socioeconomics and culture and geography and religion and politics. I mean, it really is, you know, I believe that music and using music to reach people and let them know they're not alone. I mean, if that doesn't bring God glory, I don't know what does.
Right.
You know, so
right.
It's one of the last bastions of civil service left in our culture, I think. You know, you figure our politicians are all bought and paid for, the banking system's corrupt, you know, religion's corrupt. It's like nobody knows what they can trust anymore, and it's like, well, there's this poor SOB with a guitar that had his heart broken, and when I hear him sing, it speaks to me.
That's right.
That's pretty huge.
Huge. It is huge, and it's wonderful, and let's have you do a little bit of that speaking. You were telling me, I haven't heard this cut, you're telling me about a new cut that you have called Disappear on Down the Line. You want to talk a little bit about that, and let's play that, JB. What do you think?
That'd be great. Disappear on Down the Line, I wrote that song, it's off my forthcoming record, Stripped to the Root, which should be out here in the next few months. I'm diligently picking away at the final mixes and getting it ready to be manufactured. Basically, I wrote that song in my darkest hour. You know, I had lost my long-term lady. I buried a couple of my friends within 3 months, one to a murder and one to dying in his sleep, and came home to an empty house and was just surrounded by some pretty dark feelings. And that was sort of my, my plea to the heavens, if you will. It's like, you know, get this out of me before I do something stupid. It was one of those moments. So in that sense, it's a pretty powerful song. It's a tougher one to sing, too. I try to do it live, and I always get the lump in my throat every time, so I guess that says something.
I mean, those are the songs. That's, you know, that's just what we just got done talking about, or, you know, what you were kind of reiterating about the connection. So let's play that, and I want to make sure that I tell you right now, in case I forget to later, that when your new album comes out, I'd love for you to come back on the show, and we'll feature some cuts from it, okay?
I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah. All right, here's Disappear on Down the Line. Don't go anywhere. We've got a little bit more left here with Mr. J.B. Beverley, folks, on the Highwaywoman Radio Show.
Woman, I love you. reaching out for you as they're dragging me down. Maybe tomorrow I'll hold you and it'll all be just fine. If I don't disappear on down that line.
And that was J.B. Beverley with a new song, Disappear on Down the Line. It's going to be on an upcoming release. Really looking forward to that. And so much of all these creative projects. He's got a book, and there's something else I want to talk to him about. I'm sure he knows I'm going to bring it up. He's working on a project that involves a dear friend of mine and one of the greatest songwriters, in my opinion, that ever walked this earth, Mr. Billy Don Burns. Can you tell me how it came about?
Sure. Well, Billy Don's he's a very close friend. He's family to me, and he's a hero of mine too. Music. Ralph from Rusty Knuckles contacted me soon after Billy Don's latest album came out on Rusty Knuckles Records, and Ralph wanted to do a promotional video about Billy Don for his new album, and I basically told Ralph, I said, well, man, I'm down to help you out with that, but I said, rather than do a quick little promo piece, let's throw together a real budget, get some of Billy Don's peers from back in the day and some of the newer generation of folks that he's inspired and influenced, and let's just make a full-blown documentary and get his story out there. And Ralph thought that was a really good idea, so we sort of joined forces, and I called Billy Don and just said, hey, I want to make a movie about you. He was like, what?
Yeah.
I said, no, man. I'm gonna follow you around with a camera for a year or two and get your story. And Billy Don says, well, why would you want to do that with me, man? He goes, you could go get somebody who's a chart-topping success and make a movie about them. I said, yeah, brother, anybody can make a movie about them too. I said, we're family, we're brothers of the road. I said, I want to make it about you. I said, I don't care about some chart topper story that can be done on A&E biography. I said, I want your story. To me, that's more powerful, and it needs to be told. I think Billy Don's he's the kind of guy, if people just knew he was around and what he's done and what he's still doing, I mean, he'd be selling out shows. He'd be packing these huge venues. It's just a tragedy that, because he was more of a writer than a performer, that he never got the push in front of the audiences that he should have had. And I think that as his friend, if I can help chronicle his story and show him that he's made a big difference on now a couple generations worth of people, I think that's the greatest gift I could hand an old buddy of mine. So that's the main reason I want to do this.
I can't even begin to tell you how amazing I think this is, and that somebody who feels it and gets everything that he's about, that has so much integrity about it, that is doing it like yourself, that just, to me, that means so much, because it is an important story. And I think the thing with Billy Don is that, a lot of people say they're outside the lines, and a lot of people have been inside the lines saying they were outside the lines doing what they do. But Billy Don has always followed the outer path. He's had such a legendary career, but he doesn't ever talk about it much unless you ask him.
He doesn't have a big ego, is what it is. Right. He does this for the right reasons, and that's right. The difference is, in a day and age of image-based affectations, I'll put you like this. Billy Don's song, Running Drugs Out of Mexico?
Right.
This is a perfect example. All these people coming out today talking about living this outlaw lifestyle and running dope and this and that. And it's like, Billy Don really did, run drugs out of Mexico. It's like, that's the difference, is he's not taking a certain stance because it's going to appeal to people or it's trendy or it's marketable. He's just telling his story, and there's a simplistic beauty to that I think goes unnoticed in his case and often gets overshadowed by the image jockeys. And so,
right.
Yeah, another reason that I've taken such a vested interest in this, for sure.
Really excited about that, and we can't wait to hear more about that coming up. And it'd be really cool. Have you and Billy Don ever written together? You're both such great writers on your own. It would be really cool to see you all get together and write sometime. That would be kind of fun, huh?
It's funny you ask that, because we've talked about it a lot, and it's really just a matter of getting in the right place at the right time. Because for a guy like him or me, I could pen something and send it to him and say, well, add something to this, or vice versa. But for the way he and I are, it'd make more sense to have him come out here to Rebel Roots or have me meet him somewhere and do some shows on the road and lock ourselves into a hotel room or here in the studio with a bottle of whiskey and a notebook and a couple of guitars and, just do it like that. So I'm sure it'll happen. It's just a matter of doing it the right way, because I think for he and I to get our best out of the deal, we got to be in the same spot undisturbed, though, for sure.
Right. Have you been doing a lot of writing lately, JB? You're saying you kind of want to spend a little bit more time with your family now recently, and you've been on the road so much over the last several years. What are your plans like for 2013? Say there's somebody, wanting to hear you, want to find out if you're going to be coming to their town. Have you got a big schedule on the books, or what's going on for this year?
No, this year I'm pretty much devoting the rest of the year to getting my album finished and out, playing the festival circuit a little bit this summer and fall, and doing some miscellaneous shows here and there. Next year, I think I'm going to hit the road full speed again. And, when I came off the road, my father had recently had heart surgery and moved down to be close with him and just help kind of caretake for things. But he's doing a lot better, and I feel that old familiar itch getting to me. So it's like, once the new record's out and I can figure out just the logistical stuff, getting a reliable vehicle under my belt again for the road, and making sure the players are who they need to be and all that kind of stuff, I figure at that point my ugly self will be more visible, sadly.
Really happy to have you on the show, and I'm excited about your new album. Want to have you back, and we'll do a special just on the new album when it comes out. You'll have to let me know, okay?
That'd be wonderful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Now let's tell everybody where they can find you online. Give out your website.
It's www.jbbeverley.com, and it's Beverly with a L-E-Y. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I answer all my own emails and stuff, so if anybody wants to get in touch or shoot me a question or talk music, I'm around.
Download some JB Beverley, folks. Thanks so much, JB. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, sweetheart. Nice talking with you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Brigitte London, and this has been the Highwaywoman Radio Show.
Now there she goes, the highwaywoman, and she's brought music to your soul, and moves along, she moves along.